look, you could pick lots of little things that both teams could do, but I think it's getting that effectiveness once you get the foot inside the opposition's half, always leaving there with some type of points and creeping that sort of scoreboard pressure on.
Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of In the Know with Michael Cheika, brought to you by Sporting News and GIO. My name is Brendan Bradford from Sporting News, and I'm joined as always by Michael Cheika as we take a closer look into the Wallabies Bledisloe Cup and Rugby Championship campaigns. Check, a 33-25 loss to the All Blacks at Eden Park last week. What did you make of the game as a whole?
As a supporter, it was a bit of an up and down because, Australia was close in there initially and then it got away from us and then came back. So you went on a bit of an emotional roller coaster there. Sometimes the scoreline didn't really match what was going on in the game. And it was a different type of game, I think, because of the weather as well. That wind was it changed some of the tactics. And some of the things that you would see more of in a game, especially from New Zealand, like counter-attack, there was very few. I think they had maybe 3 or 4 counter-attack movements as a whole over the whole game. And Australia were quite good with their handling in general. I think they had some errors at the line-out, but there was hardly any turnover attack as well. And that's an area where New Zealand can hurt you. And in the end, it came down to who was more effective in their entries into the 22. New Zealand were more effective with the ball. They had less ball and they were more effective with it.
There was about a 10 or 15 minute period there where the All Blacks scored a couple of tries with a bit of a blitz, and you didn't really think it was a 20-point game in favour of the All Blacks. But what were the positives that you could take out of it for the Wallabies? Oh,
mate, I've been there. Don't worry. Where you think it's you're going all right, and then 15 minutes later there's a 25-point gap. But that's the game of rugby. That's the way they play the game. They can explode onto the scene. And they can get you just before halftime and just after halftime, as they've done many times in the past, which they did in that game, which was crucial. I don't think All Black coaching team would be extremely happy with a lot of the handling at different parts of the game. They went in a touch a few times, a few opportunities that were with drop by. And I think it's difficult too because there was such a strong wind. And in the first half, they made a few errors running with the wind, which is always a little bit more tricky with the handling. Even though people might say, well, it was the last 15 minutes and New Zealand had taken the foot off the throat. Well, that's not a New Zealand trait of taking the foot off the throat. And a game goes for 80 minutes. There's plenty there for Australian coaching and playing team to like. But at the end of the day, they want to like a W by the side of their team.
Are there any areas of improvement that you'd be focusing on for the Wallabies this weekend?
I think some of the very low-hanging fruit is pretty obvious. The line-outs, I think they had something like 17 or 18 line-outs. So they had a lot of line-out play. Now, the question will be whether New Zealand will target that area again. They had they struggled with the breeze, I think, predominantly, early on. There was a few throws that lost their way in a few areas at the line out that Coach Rennie would really like to improve. I think Australia might be looking for some improvement out of their scrum. I think Australia is a better scrum. I think they can prove their dominance there. I think that Coach Rennie will be looking for more dominance out of the Australian scrum, no matter whichever way he sets them up, whether he sets up Tupou and Bell first, which he might this week, or whether he sets up the other guys first.
Who wearing a gold jersey really stood out to you on the weekend?
The young 5'8" handled things pretty well. I think he's growing with every game he's playing, and he's handling the situations that he's presented with quite well. Paisami was solid in D, and I like the way the back row are playing. I think Harry Wilson's a good player. And, I'm biased though, and I hope it doesn't affect him. Is Michael Hooper. The guy's he's playing cut above the rest as around his effort on the field and just his involvements. The amount of times he's involved in a game, it's pretty outrageous. I think more than on either side.
Same question for the All Blacks. Who stood out for you
I liked Damien McKenzie. I thought he was really slippery. You know, he looked like he had a lot of energy. He made a lot of good decisions, didn't want to run out, stayed, get close there. He knew he had to, get himself into the game, and he made a lot of good decisions, sweeping from one side to the other. Set up probably a couple of tries by doing that off the back of good All Black play. And then I think you go to their engine room as well. Retallick and Whitelock, they dominated lineouts. They were strong in the mauling, all the tight stuff, and they played a really good frontline game with the ability to put the ball out the back comfortably and set up plays.
And we know the three boys who were stood down last week, they're back available this time around. Would you be looking at making any changes if you're Dave Rennie?
Oh, look, I think that Marika Korobeti's a shoo-in to come back in just by what he brings to the game. Maybe a guy like Naisarani could come in off the bench. I think that the back row did enough to keep its position.
How did the Wallabies reverse the outcome this weekend?
Look, you could pick lots of little things that both teams could do, but I think it's getting that effectiveness once you get the foot inside the opposition's half, always leaving there with some type of points and creeping that sort of scoreboard pressure on, because New Zealand gave away a stack of penalties. So there's real opportunity there if they stay like that in there as far as their discipline's concerned, to get opportunities in New Zealand's half and always take points when you've got that opportunity. I know it sounds simple and quite basic, but there's a real mindset towards that. That type of mindset could lead to the scoreboard pressure required.
Nice one. Michael Cheika, it's always a pleasure picking your brain about the football. Good luck for your match this weekend, and tune in again next week on In the Know with Michael Cheika, brought to you by Sporting News and GIO.